All right, should be up and running. Both platforms should be streaming now. We'll be going over the market and today's plays, and we'll actually be taking a look at one play that almost looks identical to one out of the manual from the turnaround trader formula. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for October 5th, 2021. Qs and SPY just closed here. All right, and we had a rally today. Qs up 1.35, SPY up 1, and IWM just up 1/3%. Gave back a lot of that move up from the morning. Coming into today, we were bearish as we were coming into Monday, but we were waiting to see what this sell setup would look like, right? I was saying we'll probably get a little bit of a bounce, and we'll see what it looks like maybe tomorrow afternoon or later into the week to see what the sell setup looks like. So we did get it this afternoon here, the move up and then the break of a previous bar's low. There it is on the Qs, and there it is on the SPY. So that makes it pretty easy as far as what to expect going into tomorrow, how to adjust if we do get another rally tomorrow. So just like we did here, this high of the day here, as long as we stayed below that, we were bearish because that was the pivot in the downtrend there. We got a new pivot. Now it's pretty close to the previous one. Okay, so a little bit of an equal high. So rally is a little bit stronger than you would want to see from a typical downtrend. But we do have the pivot and 435.50 on the SPY. As long as we're below that, stay bearish. And then if we're below 459.70 on the Qs, then we stay bearish on the Qs as well. What happens if we take that out in the morning? If we take that out, then we'll be looking for the daily sell setup. So we got a sell setup right here. Hopefully you're starting to recognize these patterns a little bit in the downtrend on the daily. You move up, and then once you break below a previous bar's low, that triggers the sell setup, and the expectation is the next to at least retest the lows and then new lows. So we'll see if we get a rally back, maybe somewhere around the declining 20. We need another day or two, I think, to get there, and then we would be looking for a sell setup at the end of the week or next Monday. Okay, so if we take out today's high on the hourly, then no longer bearish. We'll be neutral until we get that daily sell setup. We'll see what the sell setup looks like. And if there's going to be a time to resume the bearish downtrend or the bearish bias, then it'll be triggered with the daily sell setup. Okay, so that will be the plan going into tomorrow. All right, let's go over today's plays here. ADTX was the first play out of the gate here because I thought that yesterday, but also throughout last week, the open was pretty sloppy, pretty difficult. So I wanted to hold off a little bit on just for the first couple minutes. So a lot of 1 minute high lows, 2 minute high lows, I was going to pass, let them play out. And I was going to look for things with, at least multiple bars in the formation of the pattern. So that's what I wanted to focus on. So get just a little bit more reliable of patterns. The ADTX gap, not too bad here, trying to end a downtrend. We've seen some of these kind of things rip when they are in a downtrend and then they start to move back up. This is a pretty extreme example on the SMTS, right? But it's, with a lot of kind of short covering coming all at once. That's usually the understanding of why this happens, right? So ADTX, we were getting a decent gap, definitely a pro gap, okay, gapping against the downtrend here. Wanted to see how much we could get out of this. Ended up playing a breakout right here over that topping tail. Looks nicest, I thought, over that topping tail and over high of the day was the 2 minute. I thought looks the most compelling because that's a pretty bearish bar. And so the reversal of a bearish bar, that topping tail, is to be considered bullish. We got a little bit of follow through. I thought this buy setup was really nice. I thought the stop was too tight to play, so I didn't add to the play or look to add to it. That's the only thing that would have been done because I was already in it. And we got a little bit of follow through, but then on that second new high there, it was having a little bit of trouble getting going, so I brought the stop up. Initially, the stop was down here. I think we had it at 197, brought it up to 205. So that I thought was a very good looking buy setup. It also became a significant buy setup once it made a new high, and that shouldn't get taken out if this is going to continue. So it eventually did trail out on this, did lose a little bit on this on the ADTX. Okay, so that was a little bit of a deviation from plan, but it ended up working out in our favor. I try not to do it too much to kind of deviate from plan, because what if it trails us out, doesn't stop, and then goes right back up, right? Then, which it didn't, would have stopped anyway. The more that you kind of do that and you know that you're breaking your plan, it does mess with you a little bit. What you want to do is, if you feel like maybe your plan is limiting you a little bit and hindering the process, is then you want to kind of track different managements, and then if there's one that stands out to be doing better, then you can make the adjustment. Okay, the worst is doing it on the fly, right? Like within a single day, you do all different types of management on plays, and then you're getting out of ones that would have worked, you're getting out of them too early, and then the ones that don't work, you're staying in them till they stop out, and you're just doing it on the fly. That creates a lot of frustration. So what you want to do is just try and stay consistent with the management, track other ones, how they would have performed, see which one would perform the best over the course of weeks and months, and then you can adjust from there. Okay. So of course, everybody, when they take a trade, they're like, well, I just want the management that's going to make the most out of this individual play, right? And that's our kind of short-term thinking that's actually keeping us from being able to achieve consistency. Okay. So just have to think a little bit more long-term and then make the adjustments, because there just isn't going to be a management that's going to get you the most out of every single play. Just, there isn't a one-size-fits-all when it comes to management. Okay, so that was the ADTX. Next play was the COMM. I don't think I called anything in between. I have the room. Let me see. I don't think there was anything called and canceled in between. I know this is the next thing I played, but yeah, no, there wasn't anything else that was called and canceled. COMM, we played this breakdown here as it was basing on the 2 and the 5. It was a little bit extended on the 5, so that's why the stop ended up being up here. Not too bad on the COMM. First piece came out as we came to new lows there. Trailed out, I think, 2-minute bar by bar. So that wasn't too bad. We made new lows here. I said go ahead and take another quarter. And then we were managing the last piece hourly bar by bar. Unfortunately, on that last trail there, so here's how it was basing, like this. And so I did lower the stop, which actually was according to plan. I wasn't doing anything different here. And we brought the stop to 12.45. Actually got us to the penny right there, 12.45, and then dropped. Kind of a bummer. It got a little bit wild there at the end. A little bit of a bummer, because that would have been nice to be in it at least somewhere closer to that 12.20. I don't expect I would have been able to catch that 12.20, but even if we missed the exit and we're in it till end of day, that's still nicer by a little bit than 12.45. But that's fine. It was only the last quarter anyway. And so, yeah, just kind of got a little bit, I think, unlucky. But that was all according to plan. I was trailing off the hourly. And you can see the hourly right here, 44, 43. My stop was at 45 after this bar finished, and it just tagged us out. So it happens. Not a big deal. Not too worried about that. Would have been nicer if we didn't, but that's fine. The really nice follow through right off the bat always makes these plays easier, though, right? So you can see we got triggered in with this red bar here, and then we got pretty clean, nice follow through right off the bat. So that's why that first trail was 1 minute bar by bar, because you can see, I don't know how many bars in a row just were lower highs. About a dozen. Yeah, there might be an equal high here, but close to a dozen there. So that was really nice. Nice follow through. This is where we got triggered in, and then right off the bat, nice clean follow through. That's always nice. It's like the Omer from Friday. Okay, so those were the two called plays. There's one play I missed, and I think a little bit disappointed that I missed it, and that was the EVRI. It just started triggering right as I soon after I found it, and so I didn't really have a lot of time to make a decision. But yeah, I was thinking that this was a pretty good setup. We just went over this setup, actually, the strategy and the entry pattern last week in coaching. So this is what we call a gap berry. This is a special kind of gap berry that is gapping from all-time highs and then gets sold. And so we're talking about sell setups, just like we were showing in the Qs and the SPY, where it's something in a downtrend, does a retracement and puts in a lower high. So we were just going over this last week, and kind of what made this, I think, a little bit tough was that really, as far as entry goes, this is fine because the 20 MA is already caught up and curling over it. But I thought that was too tight of a stop for something like this, and that could easily get shaken out. So then that other option was to do it this way, which I thought, well, maybe that's too big of a stop now. I don't know how much more this is going to go. So at the time, you can see this is what the chart looked like. Or actually, it looks like this when I'm trying to make that decision. I thought, well, that's too big of a stop. So ended up letting it go. So that actually was really, really nice. And I think the part that, is kind of a shame is that we just went over this last week, and it looks so much like the example. So there's the sell set example from last week. I don't remember what the symbol was for this one. And then here's the EVRI. So probably, the similarities probably be a little bit more obvious if they're same background, but I think, if you're familiar with charts at all, you can see that EVRI and the whatever this was, how similar they were. Both gap ups that got sold. So you can see the 20 major clue there, that the way that this closed, it tried to gap up and then actually broke down below whatever yesterday's price action, most of yesterday's price action, does a retracement, 20 MA catches up, and then it rolls over back to the lows. And then here it is. Same thing. See that gapping up, loses the gap, and then goes negative on the day. That 20 MA tells you most of the trading from yesterday is in this area. So anybody who held overnight was excited and then immediately disappointed. And so then that usually creates selling pressure. And then here's the sell setup and then kind of a base breakdown. It's like right when I found it, that's what I was doing, which was fine too. So really the sell setup was the better entry, I think. So yeah, oh well, I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's why when we use the, look at charts and try to teach the patterns, we try to use, real charts, not just charts that I like draw, because yeah, it just makes it so that you can see these examples, real-time examples, and get better at identifying them. So that was maybe the only miss today, but otherwise I thought it was fine. ADTX didn't work, partial loss, but then COMM was pretty decent, so that more than made up for the ADTX. All right. Hope you did well today. I don't think there's a lot going on. There's definitely some pockets in today's price action that are in today's trading where there's almost nothing to do. So if you're finding that to be the case, just make sure you stay disciplined and don't take plays out of boredom, and try to stick with just higher quality stuff. And if there's nothing to do, there's nothing to do for the time being. I think this one triggered actually over lunch. So stuff like that's going to happen. So just have to be a little patient. Okay. All right, guys, we'll be back at it tomorrow, and I will talk to you then. Have a good evening.